Hi guys, Yuki here, back with Seduce Me 2, the Demon War Part 1 of Sam's route. So yeah, we completed Damien's, James's, and Eric's, and now we're moving on to Sam. So, as I said before in the other videos, if you'd like to see what happens prior to where I am now, just check the demo, which is basically like an hour or so of what it is. I've chose the exact same choices as before, so no cheating here. Anyways, let's get into the game. 4 women drop down from the tear and somehow manage to fall into the arms of the incubi behind Sam.
Whoa! Are you okay? I gotcha! It's okay!
Eric!
Love, I've got you!
James!
Whoa! Are you alright?
I stared wide-eyed. Their wives came too? I watched as the boys and the girls finally planted themselves on the ground before looking around. As Sam spotted me, however, his eyes widened in both surprise and anger. His gaze pinned itself to Diana, who still stood protectively in front of me, and his eyes instantly became painted over in an almost harsh gold color.
You're fucking dead!
Within a blink, Sam and Diana vanished and reappeared against the wall behind me. As I turned to see what was happening, I gasped at the sight. Sam was pinning Diana to the stone wall, crushing her neck and holding her high enough that her feet were dangling above the floor. I did that too, sorry, but not to that extent.
I warned you, bitch! I will tear you to shreds!
Sam! Before I could move, however, the guard jabbed the blunt end of his spear into one of Sam's knees, causing Sam to release Diana and buckle to his knees.
You mangy dog!
Oh no. The guard quickly twirled a spear around and thrust it forward to skewer Sam, but missed as Sam fell back and laid himself across the ground, glaring up at his attacker. Filled with an almost terrifying rage, the guard stepped forward and went for another stab at Sam. Fortunately, Sam pushed the weapon away from him and directed it to the side, causing the blade to clang against the ground. The guard quickly pulled back and thrust the spear forward again, but hit the floor again as Sam turned his body to the side. However, the guard wouldn't let Sam get up as he quickly continued to pull back and thrust the spear forward at James over and over, practically tramping him against the ground. I wanted to step in, but was too afraid of the blinding speed at which the guard was jamming his spear at Sam. I didn't want to provoke him to stab me in a blind adrenaline rush. I looked to see Diana. Seeing her coughing and holding her neck while gasping for air, her hand was glowing a soft purple tint as if she was healing her neck from Sam's attack. Everyone else, however, had backed away from the fighting pair, and I wanted to become collateral damage from either of their attacks. As Sam set up, the guard retaliated with a lightning-fast response and kicked Sam back down, slamming the bottom of his foot into Sam's face to do so. However, before the guard could slam the spear down on his target, Sam rolled out of the way and got up on his hands in a spinning handstand. Dang. I had never seen him fight like this, even with Malix, but Sam was still undoubtedly trained in combat, even when he didn't have the upper hand. Sam flipped onto his feet and faced off against the guard in a martial arts defense stance before a sudden barrage of spear thrusts forward forced Sam to duck, lean, and dodge away from the guard. Unrelenting, the guard thrust his spear as fast as his machine gun shots towards Sam, no longer looking to aim precisely, but hoping to land at least once. At one particularly hard thrust, the guard leaned his body into the attack, but only managed to miss Sam by mere centimeters as Sam tilted to the side and let the spear cross over his chest without making contact. Oh my god. I looked to Diana, hoping that she would call off her guard, but she continued to stare at the floor, recuperating from Sam's attack. Stop, Sam? I had to stop this from becoming worse. I stepped forward, not entirely getting between the two fighters, and shouted to get both of their attentions. Stop it! Sam looked at me, suddenly obeying my voice as it rang through the room. The guard, however, leaned for a second attack, uncaring for my command. Before the guard could follow through with his attack, a large snap echoed through the air, forcing everyone in the room, including me and Sam, to look over and see Diana glaring at her guard.
Enough!
Diana slowly straightened and pointed at the spear beside her, ushering the guard to quickly run over to her where she had indicated and turned back to face the rest of us. Sam looked to me with eyes full of bloodlust, begging me silently to continue the fight. I glared back, trying to break through his rage to get him to calm down. He relented and gritted his teeth before nodding and looking over to Diana and her guard.
I'll forgive you for now, brute.
Forgive me? What makes you think that the one who needs forgiving is me?
I didn't do anything!
Then why is she here then? Sam!
Sam and I turned to look at James, who was incredibly furious. By the look of it, the others were as well.
Look at her! Does she look like she's been hung during chains?
Sam looked to me as I met his gaze in almost perfect sync. I was indeed fine. Diana didn't hurt me. In fact, it had been the opposite. She wanted to protect me and send me home. The look in Sam's eyes, however, melted into one of longing and relief when he finally absorbed my appearance. It was like watching a beast instantly calm at the sight of its master. Without giving me a moment to breathe, he rushed over and wrapped me in his arms, burying his face into my shoulder. Sam!
I'm so happy you're safe.
My heart melted as I heard him whisper in my ear. I gripped him tightly, returning the close embrace and thankful that I could feel the one I loved once more against my arm. Sam tightened his grip on me, nuzzling into my shoulder. Kiss him? I gently moved my head and kissed over his cheek and neck, wanting to show him my affection and relief that he was in my arms again. Sam shuddered slightly at the touch of my lips and planted his own loving kiss on my neck. Oh, not in front of the people, jeez! I fought back a moan at the rush of pleasure I felt from his lips touching my skin, managing to hide it. At last, Sam and I slowly broke away from each other. Sam looked over to Diana with a softer expression, but nonetheless a serious one.
Why is she here?
Diana pressed her lips together. I could see a small form of hesitation in her eyes as she looked at Sam and quickly formulated her answer.
Ask your father.
I felt a burst of angry energy flash beside me at her answer, which drew my attention back to Sam. His body became wrapped in a dark green aura as his eyes flashed gold once again.
What did you say?
Your father brought her here and placed a curse on her. She can't leave this world until she dies, or...
Another flash of energy. The aura around Sam pulsated, almost cracking like lightning around his form. Sam gritted his teeth, and I could tell rage was slowly taking over.
I'm gonna kill that old fuck!
Sam! I quickly placed my hand on his shoulder, knowing that he needed to calm down. We had a plan. He didn't need to get this angry right now. Sam looked over at me, calming down slightly at the sight of my worried face. We're going to kill him, Sam. Calm down. The aura around Sam slowly began to dwindle and die out as the gold glow of his eyes faded. I let out a small sigh of relief as I felt the muscles on his shoulder relax under my hand. As I looked down, Sam spoke once again, his voice sounding drained from the sudden rage.
You got a plan to kill him?
Yes, we plan to kill him in 1 week's time.
1 week?!
Where is this number coming from, Succubus?
We need to fully prepare ourselves for the final stage, which I'm certain will only take a couple of days. We've pinned him into a corner. The Demon Lord will fall.
That's rather bold to assume.
She's right, though. We can prepare everything in that time frame, right?
And if he does the same and attacks us before then?
He won't.
I watched as Diana walked over and cleared the table of the materials they had gathered for the gate spell, revealing a physical map of the abyssal plains. She pointed to a spot in the map, a peninsula surrounded by water labeled as the Decaying Sea.
We'll cast a barrier spell along the edge of the peninsula and around the castle. He and his army won't be able to move from that spot until we break it ourselves, which will be during the siege.
Where would we get the energy needed for that kind of spell?
We won't be using energy.
The other rebel demons in the room suddenly tensed up, staring at Diana in surprise. What was she going to do?
My lady, you're not suggesting...
The Demon Lord has shown how far he is willing to go to win this war. It's only fitting to show the extent we'll go to in response.
As much as I agree with you, this seems a little rash.
What are you guys talking about?
Are they allowed to know?
I plan to put a barrier curse around the Demon Lord's castle and army. It's temporary, so it won't need the blood of 1,000 demons. But it will need the sacrifice of at least one demon life.
And I assume you'll be sacrificing one of my soldiers.
Is this our only option?
There are other options, but they will most likely take a lot of energy to pull off.
It just depends on what we want to do. If we want to do this immediately, then the barrier curse is indeed the best option.
I'm not opposed to performing the curse. As rash as it is, it will make our lives easier in the long run.
You expect me to hand over one of my men? My soldiers joined the rebellion to kill the Demon Lord, not to get their throats slit before even seeing the final battle.
It's wrong, but can we really afford to spend any more energy? Diana already spent a lot trying to send the human back.
What is the other option?
The rabbit woman and the fairy moved forward towards the map and pointed at the peninsula.
We could form tall rock walls around the castle. Box them in.
It will take a lot of our energy, but we can recover in that week period.
And what will stop the Demon Lord from tearing down the walls?
I can imbue the walls with holy magic.
The incubi and I looked at him, all of us equally surprised. A demon with holy magic? How?
How the fuck did you get holy magic? You look and smell like a demon.
He's secretly an angel. The guard held up his wrapped hand, letting the beads around it jangle with his sudden motion.
I've had the ability to use holy magic ever since I was taken in by my lady's family. There's no doubt that I am a demon, but I can't recall how I gained this ability.
How is holy magic different from demon magic?
It's white magic. Unlike demon magic, holy magic isn't so finicky. Think of it as warding or dispelling magic. You can't bless air or anything that doesn't have physical form, but you can bless objects to fight back against other forms of magic.
If the walls were blessed with holy magic, the Demon Lord wouldn't be able to escape until we released him.
Why not just trap him forever?
That's idiotic. He would still be a threat regardless. Holy magic doesn't last forever, and stone will crumble eventually.
He's right. We wouldn't be able to keep the walls up forever.
The situation became more and more complicated the more we discussed it. How were we going to go about this?
We can't just sit around and debate this forever. The longer we wait, the more we risk him striking back at us.
But is it worth killing someone to trap him?
When we finally strike, we will lose hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers anyway. What difference will it make to lose one more life on top of this?
Soulless fuck.
We can still cage him in.
I bit my lip. It was a really tough decision. A curse or a trap? Which was better? Both had their prices, but we had to choose one. From the look of it, no one wanted to speak up, so I felt the urge to say something. Maybe I would be the one to determine everything. But which method would be the best choice? Say trap. Everyone looked at me as if I finally spoke up. We need to be better than the Demon Lord. He was willing to sacrifice lives to trap me here, but it only showed how desperate he was to win and how little he valued life. He would lose this war in one way or another. It wasn't worth losing someone who could help during the tide of war. When can you put up a barrier?
We can leave after this, meeting is over.
Are you sure this is the best choice?
The curse isn't the only option. We need to show that we're better than him. Everyone nodded, some in reluctance while the others did with confidence. I looked at Diana just in time to catch a twitch of her visible eye, but she shook her head and looked to the rabbit woman.
Are you quite positive this will work?
I am very certain. Since it will be just 3 of us going, we can shadow travel there and be back by the morning.
Diana looked at her guard and nodded.
Very well. If you believe it will work, then I trust you will make sure it does.
As the guard nodded and slightly bowed, the other demons seemed to let out a sigh of relief. Were they worried about performing the curse? Diana shook her head before crossing her arms and looking directly at me.
So, since you'll be here for a while, we might as well give you names that you can use to refer to everyone here.
Are we getting human names?
Must we?
Diana rolled her eyes and gestured to each demon, naming them on the fly.
For the sake of time, we'll use simple names. This is Rabbit, our magic advisor. Sergeant, commander of our armies. Shadow, leader of our assassins. And Faye, our nomadic force ambassador.
Sergeant? I'm a commander, succubus. Shouldn't my name be Commander?
It's easier on the tongue, though, to say Sergeant.
My lady, what shall they call me?
Diana looked at Sarah for a moment before turning towards me, a look of seriousness emanating from her eyes.
You may call him Cero. He is my personal guard, and he is always by my side.
The other demons and Sarah seemed to be surprised. Was Zero his true demon name? Or would she give me his true name?
Are you sure?
Call him only if your life depends on it. Do not abuse this permission.
Her eyes seemed to burn as she gazed into mine, full of hard intent and warning. I mentally noted her seriousness as she ran a hand through her hair. Her eyes seemed... Oh, I already read that.
Well, now that we have a plan and introductions are out of the way, I believe we can end this meeting. We have a lot to accomplish in 1 week.
What about us? You don't expect us to sit around.
Actually, I do. You all don't belong on the battlefield.
Now listen.
I will not take untrained and unarmed beings into a war zone.
Hold on! I interjected, stepping forward and crossing my arms at Diana. She seriously wasn't going to make us stay back while she fought the Demon Lord, was she? We can fight too. Diana squinted at me, pressing her lips together in a fine line. However, I meant what I said. We could fight too.
You expect me to trust that you can fight in a war?
Let me and my brothers train then. We're demons, for fuck's sake. We know how to fight.
The boy stared at Diana as she turned her head towards Sam. He was right though. They knew how to train, so they knew how to fight. If they fought with the rebellion, there would be a better chance of winning this war.
You all realize this is a war, correct? You can die here.
We understand completely.
We understand too.
Diana could only stare at our group as we challenged her proclamation. I wrapped my hands around my fiancé's arm, frightened at the idea of participating in a war, but knowing that we needed all the strength we could to muster to finish up the Demon Lord. This was the only way that I could go home. Defeated, Diana sighed and rubbed her temples.
Very well. I can't exactly keep you here like prisoners, so it will be up to you if you choose to train for battle. However, I highly suggest just staying here and allowing us to handle it.
I nodded, as did the others. This was really happening. We were going to kill the Demon Lord, and we had 1 week to either prepare for war or wait it out. Diana turned towards me and looked down at my outfit. I had nearly forgotten that I was still in my wedding dress until Diana pointed at my chest.
Lumen infere, bellum tabescere, serene.
I stared at her, unsure of what she was speaking in Latin until I found the fabric around my body shift and change. I quickly looked down to see my wedding dress morph into an outfit that would look perfect for the demon world. The white top shifted into a long-sleeved oversized tunic with a leather corset and vest, while the bottom part of the gown split and wrapped around my legs, forming into dark leggings. My shoes stretched into long knee-high boots.
Ooh, interesting outfit.
I blushed, getting used to the feel of the outfit. The corset wasn't tight, but it was still something new along with the rest of the garb. Sang looked at me up and down before glancing away, blushing a bit. Aww.
You look good.
Thanks.
Faye, Rabbit, you both should finish your preparations and head over to the Demon Lord's castle for the...
How are you going to get there?
I'll get us there, no problem.
Just make sure we don't get stuck there or lost.
No promises.
Zero, make sure the job is done.
I shall, my lady.
Zero, Faye, and Rabbit began to make their way out of the room as Diana turned to me and my group. As they left, Diana let out a small sigh.
I will take you to some rooms you may rest in.
Thank you, Diana. Diana merely nodded and led our group out of the room towards our new temporary rooms. The walk to our room became a silent journey. Sam and I held hands, but for some reason there were no words to say between us. This entire situation sat in my mind and festered, plaguing my thoughts and causing me to remain speechless. All of this seemed so unreal and hard to imagine, let alone believe. How is this possible? I felt Sam gently squeeze my hand, causing me to look over at him. Was he feeling my anxiousness now? Somehow?
Hey, you sure you're alright?
I stared at him a bit longer before replying. No. I wasn't alright. Although this was a muddled mess and I couldn't help but worry, it had to have been obvious anyway for Sam to notice and ask. Sam frowned a bit and released my hand to wrap his arms around my shoulder.
We'll get back.
Will we? I couldn't deny the doubt that entered my mind and influenced my response, but Sam gave me a small shake and nodded.
We will.
I eventually let out a sigh and nodded as well. He was right. I needed to shake this feeling out of my mind. Sam and I were guided to the hallway until we finally reached our room, which happened to be the ambassador room where I had slept in before. It was good to know that I was going to a place I recognized. I sat on the bed and let out a sigh, feeling the worry of the entire situation sink and fade into my mind. I wasn't alone, at least, anymore, and Sam was willing to fight for me to return home. It was unexpected, but it was amazing to have Sam here. Sam looked around the room, taking in the space.
Fancy room?
Yeah, apparently it's an open ambassador's room. They let me sleep here when I came.
That was how long ago?
Like a day? Sam laughed and stuffed his hands in his pockets. It was so funny.
Well, fuck. I forgot the time difference between this world and the human world.
Wait, time difference?
Yeah, time goes slower here and stuff. So, like, while you've been here a day, you've only been gone from the human world for 4 or 5 hours.
Wait, huh? I was only gone for 4 or 5 hours? How was that possible? Then again, I was on another plane, so it was somewhat understandable. My brain just couldn't wrap around it, so I held my head, staring at the floor in shock. Sam laughed again and walked over to me, sitting by my side before he wrapped an arm around my shoulders in comfort.
At least we found you. If it weren't for Damien and Twilight, it would have taken us longer.
I nodded, relieved regardless of how I was found. While I couldn't get back, there was a beacon of hope now which replaced my previous worry and concern. I leaned my head onto Sam's shoulder, feeling exhaustion hit me like a wave, but I didn't want to sleep just yet. I was with Sam, so I wished to stay up just a bit longer and be awake with him. Sam?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to say. I just wanted to be awake a while longer. I looked up at him as he turned his head to look down at me, patiently waiting for me to ask whatever he assumed I was going to ask. Help me stay awake? If I wanted to stay awake longer, then Sam needed to help me do that. Sam looked down at me and turned our bodies gently to face one another.
What do you want me to do?
Anything? I didn't want our reunion to end for the day with us just going to bed. A kiss, a hug, a conversation, anything was acceptable as long as I was going to be awake with that much longer. Sam gently lifted my chin and lowered his head to kiss me, allowing me the choice to take his lips with mine by stopping a mere centimeter away. I took it and melted into the kiss, wrapping my arms around him. My head and heart became full of Sam, feeling his heart beat against my chest, tasting his lips against my own. Memories flooded back of us holding one another, and I began to mentally thank God for letting us be together again. Sam wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me close but not taking us any further. The kiss was slow, intimate, and romantic in every form. That was yet another thing I loved about Sam. He knew when to take things slow with me, and I knew when not to get deeper than that. He respected me, loved me, and wanted to protect me with his entire being. I was blessed to have him as mine and mine alone. As we pulled away at last, Sam let a smug grin paint his face.
Well, I guess one good thing came out of this. I get to kick my old man's ass.
I knew Sam hated his father, but was it really a good thing? In retrospect, yes. Morally, it was questionable. You really hate him, don't you? The smile on Sam's face slowly diminished into an angry expression, his eyes full of rage but his mouth pressed into a fine line.
Yeah, I do.
Sam slowly stood back up and walked towards the fireplace, staring into it with his hands clenched into fists at his sides.
That bastard made me and my brothers miserable for years. We finally escaped, and then he grows the balls to try to steal the woman I love away from me.
Oh. Sam.
That bastard kills for fun. He burns kingdoms to the ground for not submitting to him, and murders hundreds just because he can. He has a fucking harem of people and replaces every one of them with prisoners of war by the handful.
Aww.
If he had gotten his hands on you, if he even touched you, I would've...
His fist tightened at his sides as I stared wide at his blood. Little by little began to drip through the crevices of his fingers. I stood and rushed over, laying myself across his back and pressing my forehead in the back of his neck. Sam, it's okay.
Is it?
I looked up at Sam and turned around to face me. He didn't touch me as his hands were still wounded from his tight fist, but his expression dimmed a bit with a look of sadness.
I would have never forgiven myself if you fell into his hands.
I stared deep into Sam's gaze, seeing the fear behind them. I was scared as well, but thankful to be saved by Sarah and Diana. Someone above was watching over me carefully, and I thanked God for that. I wrapped my arms around Sam's neck and leaned my head to him, pressing my forehead to his own. I'm safe now. Diana and Sarah saved me from that.
Thank God for that.
Sam wrapped his arms around me, fists still closed, and pulled me to him tightly. I could see him biting his lip, almost piercing the skin, but maintaining some form of control. I frowned, but a loud silence passed between us. We'll defeat the Demon Lord and go home soon. Sam nodded against my forehead, remaining quiet. We had to let this pass. We had to move on and mentally prepare ourselves for a war. Sam would get his anger quelled, and we would be able to return home at last. We had to. Sam and I eventually pulled away from each other, locking our gazes lovingly.
Come on. We can't stay up all night.
I know. Sam lifted his hand, which was now free of wounds and blood, and guided me to bed, crawling in after I settled in between the sheets. Sam and I embraced lovingly and let the darkness of the night take over, bringing us to a quiet slumber. The dark of sleep was usually a friend of mine, only showing me nightmares on the rarest of occasions. The nightmare of me dying sent shivers down my body as I recalled it, but I knew that it was only a dream. Would I have one like that again? I hope not. Would I even have a choice in the matter if another came? That was another story. Oh. I opened my eyes to find myself in the mouth of a cave that descended beneath the earth. Behind and above me was a bright light where I could see my friends and family. However, as I looked down into the darkness, I caught the sight of Sam walking away further into the cave. Sam? He didn't answer. Sam continued forward, losing himself to the dark. Instantly, I began to follow, forgetting about the light for a moment before stepping and looking back. My family had a look of despair, while my friends held each other, watching me with heartbroken faces. Was this a sort of message? Was I following Sam into a place my friends and family could not be in? Was this my future? I became torn. What was I going to do?
You are not worthy.
What? All of a sudden, the darkness became full of fire, and the bare outline of Sam flashed before burning away in the light of the flames. He couldn't even let out a scream of pain as he was instantly burnt to ash. Sam!
Run! Run!
Diana's voice echoed through the air, but I was frozen in place, watching flames rush at him to take me as well. Oh dang. If I ran back, my heart would be scarred forever, and the memory of flames taking my love away. If I stayed, I would die with Sam. I stood in the middle, unsure of what to do. As the flames took me, I woke up in a hot sweat. I don't know. Gripping the covers, I sat up, staring at the far wall before looking around. My heart was beating wildly as sweat ran down my cheeks and the side of my head. Another nightmare. This time, however, Sam woke up with me.
Whoa! Hey, what's wrong?
I looked to Sam, seeing him not burnt or as ashes, but perfectly okay. I turned towards him and wrapped my arms around him tightly, now desperate to not let him go. Sam, despite being surprised, wrapped his arms around me and held me to him close. 2 nightmares, both leaving me and Sam engulfed in flames. I died in the first. He died in the second. What was I going to believe anymore? Sam rubbed my back gently and planted a kiss on my shoulder.
Hey, it's okay, alright? It was a stupid nightmare.
But you died.
You know I can handle anything that comes my way.
Could he really? He was strong and he was fast, but was he powerful enough to withstand whatever had let loose those flames to swallow him whole? What did that voice mean? How was Sam not worthy? What was he not worthy of? There was a million questions running through my mind, and none of them could be answered, at least not at that moment. I simply rested my head on Sam's chest and let him pull us back down to the bed to sleep.
Whatever happens, I'll always be here. Alright?
I nodded and closed my eyes, praying that I would not see that nightmare again. As fate was kind once more, I slept peacefully the remainder of the night. Okay, I'm 30 minutes in. I slowly woke from my sleep, feeling the ache of the morning consume and rush through my body relentlessly in the attempt to keep me contained in bed. I didn't mind. I was pressed against a warm chest, one whose arms I adored to be in. The nightmare plagued my thoughts, but my heart fluttered in reality, knowing that what I was feeling in the physical world was what I was supposed to care about. I looked up at Sam's sleeping face, giggling at the sight of his messy bedhead. Sam slowly woke from the sound of my laughter, blinking the sleep away to stare down at me.
Morning.
Morning. I smiled and kissed Sam on the lips to help rouse him, only to end up being pulled into a tight and loving embrace with my head buried on his shoulder.
Did you sleep okay?
The second time, yeah. Sam nodded in understanding against my shoulder as I wrapped my arms around him. I felt so warm and safe within the confines of his embrace that the thoughts of the nightmare had vanished from my mind. It would come back, but it was gone for now. I don't know, kiss him again. I pulled back a bit and kissed Sam once again, smiling happily and running my fingers along his back. Sam gently squeezed me and kissed me back, melting into the embrace between us. Morning kisses with Sam felt wonderful, and I didn't want to get up or pull away. I simply desired to relish in the feelings I had for Sam and let him completely take over my thoughts.
Hey.
Yeah?
Since we're in the demon world, do you think that maybe...
He wants to go through with the soul binding. I opened my eyes to look over his shoulder, trying to understand what he was insinuating. When it finally came to me, I held my breath in realization. The demon marriage?
You don't have to decide right now, but before we go back, maybe think about it?
I wasn't sure what to say. My mind danced across the idea of binding my soul to Sam, but at what cost? I'll think about it. Sam nodded in understanding, kissing my shoulder. I knew it was something Sam really wanted, but was it something I was willing to go through? Sam gently loosened his embrace and pulled away to look at me with a tired smile.
I don't want to get up yet.
I laughed, knowing that this was how Sam operated in the morning. He was definitely not a morning person, so seeing him curl up to me and ask permission to stay in bed was still an endearing sight that reminded me how much I loved him. My heart warmed as I smiled and kissed his forehead. Then we don't have to. We can sleep a little longer if you want. Sam smiled and closed his eyes, pulling me against his chest with a hearty chuckle.
Good. We can go eat later.
Until we hear a knock on the door. Our peace was broken, unfortunately, by the sound of knocking at our door. Sam and I let a simultaneous groan. Our plan was ruined.
Go away!
Sam, we brought breakfast.
We'll eat later!
Are you seriously going to argue with me?
Aww.
Come on, it's like 9 a.m.
How would you know the time? Are there clocks in the demon world? Now I was getting upset. I wanted to stay in bed, feel Sam's arm around me for a little while longer. Was that so much to ask? Screw breakfast. Okay. We have 3 more hours until noon!
Oh my god, just get up already! We're burning daylight here!
I'm like that too. I don't like waking up. But since I'm used to waking up at like 6 or 8, like, I'm accustomed to that now. Sam and I whined, now irritated that our plans to sleep in became ultimately impossible. However, we both understood that today was a new day and we had to start preparing to take on the Demon Lord. I slowly rose and sat up in bed, yawning as Sam begrudgingly followed suit. All right, come in. The door opened and in poured the Incubi brothers and their wives carrying a plate of food each. Sam and Iridessa held out the 2 extra plates for me and Sam.
Thanks, Dessa.
You're welcome, Sparky.
Sparky, that's cute. Thank you, James.
Of course.
James and Iridessa moved away from us as we both looked down at our plates. On it were fruit slices, bread, cheese, and some form of jerky I didn't recognize. It was probably safe knowing that the others were eating it as well. Sam, however, lowered his plate to his lap and looked up at his brothers.
So, what's the plan?
Well, we should probably take the next couple of days to train properly. Since we're in Lilith Castle, we'll have access to training equipment.
Lilith Castle? This place has a name? The boys and Irene, Eric's wife, nodded in reply. Sam stuffed a stick of jerky in his mouth and began to chew on it as Damien began to explain.
The first succubus, Lilith, was exiled here after being cast out of Eden by the heavens. She became a demon and soon began to breed more incubi and succubi than the world could control.
Wait, Lilith as in the Lilith from the Bible?
Yes. During her time here, she established a kingdom with this very castle at its heart.
It's a pretty castle indeed. I've never had the pleasure of coming here.
I'm not really a fan of it.
Sam swallowed the bite of jerky he had in his mouth and licked his lips, joining the conversation.
Alright, so we train until we can't anymore.
Obviously, we'll need breaks in between, but we can't afford to let a day go by without intense training. We only have a week after all.
Yeah. Worry began to bubble back into my mind. Everyone was willing to step up and start training, but Eric was right. We only had 1 week to prepare for the Demon Lord. Would we be strong enough in time?
You fear too soon, child.
Okay, I don't know who you are. But he has a nice voice. Kinda reminds me like of a grandpa or something. Huh? I straightened on my back and looked around, hearing the voice from my dream echo through the air. Everyone else looked at me curiously, wondering why I spoke up.
Wait, what?
Did you say something?
I looked around at everyone, seeing their confused faces. Did they not hear the voice?
They cannot hear me, child.
I shook my head, rubbing it gently with a nervous laugh. Sorry, I thought I missed something. The confusion in everyone's faces dissipated as everyone got back to the topic at hand, one I couldn't remember or focus on. My thoughts went back to the voice, wondering how it was speaking to me and how it knew what I was thinking.
I am closer than you imagine.
What do you mean?
Be patient, child. The time for answers will come soon enough.
I grew more and more concerned and confused. Was this spirit talking? What was the spirit talking about?
I am no mere spirit.
Then, what are you?
That I cannot tell you yet. When the time comes, you will know.
Dang, this is interesting. This was mildly scary. A voice in my hand was speaking to me and I could only speak back in my thoughts without anyone knowing what was going on. I looked around to see everyone still speaking to each other, but I couldn't focus on what they were saying. All I could focus on was the voice in my head.
Answers will come when the time is right. For now, I will bid you farewell.
Wait!
Whoa, wait, what?
Nothing! I didn't realize I spoke aloud until everyone looked at me again. I looked at Damien, wondering if he heard everything going on in my head, but he seemed to just confused, if not more so than the others.
You alright?
Truth? Tell them. I sighed. They had to know what was going on. Well, I just heard this voice in my head.
Huh? A voice in your head? But I didn't hear any other voice but yours.
Did it sound like anyone you know?
I shook my head, remembering the sound of it. It was deep and echoey, masking any relatable trace from it. For all I knew, it was some sort of illusionary creation of my own mind. Then again, if I created it, then Damien would have been able to hear it. I sighed and rubbed my head. It was some sort of deep voice, telling me to be patient and not to be afraid. Wouldn't tell me its name. I became worried about everyone thinking I was crazy. I knew I wasn't, but I definitely sounded like someone who wasn't mentally there. Sam, however, wrapped an arm around me and hugged me to his side.
Well, whoever that voice is, it's right. There's nothing to be afraid of.
I wouldn't be too sure about that just yet.
Everyone in the room turned their heads to see Diana and Sarah standing at the door. Diana stepped further into the room as Sarah stood at attention, watching her.
You 5 have been gone during the 10 years of this war. You do not seriously believe that you will be ready for this in a mere week, do you?
Diana seemed firm and serious. I could understand why, but a part of me felt a bit angry that she shut down our pep talk. Sam glared at Diana.
And if we do?
Then it is a foolish mistake.
How so?
10 years of absence can be unkind to one's abilities.
To be fair, it has only been 2 years for us.
Regardless, when was the last time any of you actually fought in battle?
Silence consumed the room. She was right. However, we weren't willing to give up that easily. I stood and placed my plate on the bed behind me. Why does it matter? We're going to defeat the Demon Lord either way.
We will. But there is no reason to try and breed ideas of false hope that it will be easy. Too many lives have been lost in this war, with the hope that they'll all survive. It's better to be realistic.
The tone of her voice echoed a heavy warning. No doubt she had seen hundreds or thousands of deaths in the war firsthand, but now was not the time to doubt ourselves. Sam stood up as well, standing at my side in defiance.
Fuck that! If you're right, then hope's the only thing we got.
Sarah stepped up to Diana's side, giving Sam a blank stare in return for his mistress.
Hope can only take you so far. Do you truly believe it will help you defeat the Demon Lord?
If you don't believe in yourself, then there's no chance of success. That's my motto. Not really. That's just mud, I think. I felt Sam take my hand and nod, affirming his words. I smiled and squeezed his hand, agreeing. Sarah and Diana stared at us with Diana crossing her arms. Something was on Diana's mind as she stared at Sam just from looking in her eyes. What was it?
Can you say that with confidence?
I can. Want me to?
Not to derail the topic, but this is a waste of time. We should be preparing for war, not bickering about if we can or not.
A moment of silence passed through the room as Diana stared at Sam sternly. However, she was distracted, distant from the conversation as if she was stalling time to have her thoughts wander. What was keeping her real attention? Same voice that was in our head?
Well, I'm not going to argue about this. Believe what you wish.
Sam and I waited and watched as Diana lowered her arms to her sides with a sigh.
However, we do have something to discuss.
Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war. You all obviously need to train.
Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked to me.
You, most of all.
Huh? Me? Oops. I was suddenly confused. How come I was the one out that had to be ready the most? The last thing I remember about me training was that Diana was against the idea altogether. Diana sighed and rubbed her temple.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the Demon Lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
That makes no sense. Where did you learn this?
Shadow. He spent the night trying to find alternative ways to break your curse. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything of the sort, but we found the guidelines to breaking it.
Well, it makes no sense.
Even while it doesn't, it's still better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to kill him and then still have you stuck here because of an error.
I could only sigh and take it in. So I had to be there when the Demon Lord fell. Great. Diana waved her hand dismissively through the air, breaking my potential thoughts.
Anyway, we can't have you dying on the way there, and we can't monitor you when we're in battle. You should at least know how to defend yourself. That's why we've come up with a solution.
Huh? What solution?
Simple. The other rebel leaders and Sarah have agreed that if you'd like a trainer to enhance your abilities, you can train with one of them.
I stared, seeing Sarah step forward with a nod.
Each of the leaders is proficient in a different area of magic and battle strategy, good enough for self-defense. I can't speak for the others, but I can assure you that with Sarah's skill and training methods, you will be well prepared by the time the siege arrives.
Sarah nodded and bowed to me slightly. While I was flattered at the idea, did I really need a trainer? I knew Taekwondo and I at least knew how to defend myself, demon or not. Then again, we were in the demon world where magic was the norm. What would the others teach me? Diana ran a hand through her hair, looking to the side as she listed off each leader as their skills.
Sergeant is a brute demon, bred from a nomadic tribe. He most likely teach you the ways of the brute demon, using your fists and speed to keep you alive. Shadow is, by definition, a shadow demon, so he'd probably teach you about dark magic, light manipulation, and assassination. Rabbit is a wild magic-based animal demon, using her animal-focused energy as her weapon. She'd probably teach you how to do the same. Fae? I am honestly not sure. I know they can change their size and use elemental magic as well, but to be honest, I do not know what they would teach you.
I choose Sergeant. Diana nodded. Sergeant was in the military commander, and I could tell he was strong just from looking at him. He was my best bet in learning how to defend myself. With that, Diana turned onto her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation as Diana and Sarah left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
This'll be fun.
Man, training's gonna suck.
It'll be worth it, though.
Damien's right.
As we finished eating, everyone left the room to either train or to do things on their own. I left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him. Alright, and we're leaving it here for today. So, lots of stuff happening, voices in my head, possibly dying by being, I don't know, engulfed in flames / being stabbed by the Demon Lord. We're gonna be with the Sergeant, who's like super gruff. We'll see how that works out. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!